Every great achievement begins twice, first in the mind, then in reality. The wealthy, the fulfilled, the extraordinary, they all began by drawing a mental blueprint of what they wanted to become. You see, life is built from the inside out. The world you experience tomorrow is being drafted in your thoughts today. Most people never take the time to design their lives. They drift like a ship without a rudder, tossed by every wave of circumstance. But the successful individual lives by design, not by default. They understand that the mind is a workshop, and every idea, every belief, every self-image is a tool that shapes the final product, their destiny. If you want to get rich, not only in money, but in purpose and joy, in peace, you must begin by seeing wealth within yourself. Visualize it clearly. Feel it deeply. Imagine success until it feels as real as the ground beneath your feet. The mind doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality. It responds to the images you feed it. So, feed it success, feed it abundance, feed it certainty. And then, act as if failure doesn't exist, because in truth it doesn't. What we call failure is only feedback, a correction, a signal pointing toward a better way. The only real failure is the decision to stop trying. Every setback, every rejection, every mistake carries a seed of growth if you refuse to give it power over you. When you act as if failure doesn't exist, something incredible happens, your energy changes, doubt disappears. You begin to move with quiet confidence, as though success were inevitable. People feel that energy. Opportunities respond to it. Life aligns itself with the one who has already decided to win. So write your mental blueprint. Design the life you want in your thoughts, in vivid detail. Decide who you are, what you want, and how it feels to have it. Then move forward each day with the calm assurance that the blueprint will be built, brick by brick, habit by habit, decision by decision. The law of cause and effect is always at work. Thought is the cause, experience the effect. Wealth begins in the mind long before it shows up in the bank. Success begins in your belief long before the world believes in you. Never act timidly, never speak in doubt, never wait for proof before you move. Act as if the result were guaranteed. Because when you do, the mind and the universe conspire to make it so. Every success story begins long before the first dollar is earned, the first milestone achieved, or the first applause received. It begins in the quiet workshop of the mind, where imagination sketches the outlines of possibility. To design your future is to take command of the unseen forces that shape your life. Most people live without a blueprint. They hope, they wish, they react to what life gives them. But the ones who rise above, the ones who build legacies, are the architects of their own existence. They understand that everything that exists in the world began as an idea, a mental image, a spark of thought that refused to fade. A skyscraper, a business, an invention, a work of art, all began in someone's mind long before it stood in reality. So too must you begin by drafting your inner design. The human mind is a construction site where ideas are turned into form through focus and repetition. Every thought you allow to stay becomes a brick in the structure of your destiny. If you fill your thoughts with scarcity, doubt, and fear, you'll build a life full of limitations. But if you fill your mind with abundance, courage, and conviction, you'll create a world that mirrors that strength. Your mental blueprint determines the boundaries of what you can achieve. That's why the first step toward wealth is not action, but imagination. Seeing clearly what you want, understanding how it feels to have it, and committing to that image until it becomes as familiar as your own reflection. The wealthy think differently because they've drawn a different design. They don't wait for proof before they believe. They believe first, and proof follows. They visualize the outcome with such clarity that their subconscious mind begins to find ways to make it happen. They know that thought, when charged with emotion, becomes a command to the deeper parts of the mind that control behavior, focus, and perception. The average person sees obstacles because their blueprint is filled with limitations. The successful person sees solutions because their blueprint is filled with possibilities. What you hold in your mind as true begins to shape how you interpret reality, how you act, and what you attract. This isn't about fantasy, it's about preparation. The clearer your mental design, the more precise your actions become. When an architect designs a building, every measurement is defined before the first stone is laid. The same is true for your success. You must see the finished product before you begin to build it. You must know who you want to become, what kind of life you want to lead, what contribution you want to make. Once that design is in place, everything else, your habits, your choices, your focus, aligns naturally with that vision. Without that internal design, your energy scatters, your actions contradict one another, and progress becomes accidental instead of deliberate. The mind follows the path you set for it. If you don't give it direction, it will wander into fear and doubt, and your life will mirror that uncertainty. But if you hand it a clear, confident plan, if you picture yourself as capable, disciplined, and worthy, then every cell in your body begins to work toward making that image real. The subconscious mind doesn't argue or question. It obeys what is impressed upon it with belief. That is why success begins in silence, in those moments when you close your eyes and see the life you desire so vividly that it becomes part of your reality before it arrives. The blueprint you draw in thought becomes the foundation of the wealth you will one day hold in your hands. Wealth is not a number in a bank account. It is a state of mind. It begins as a feeling, a quiet knowing that abundance already exists within you. Those who think like the wealthy understand that money is simply a reflection of their inner beliefs, not the source of them. The difference between a rich man and a poor man often lies not in their opportunities, but in their thinking. The wealthy mind sees possibilities, while the impoverished mind sees limits. When you begin to think like the wealthy, you stop chasing success and start attracting it, because your thoughts become aligned with the vibration of abundance. It's not arrogance. It's alignment, the understanding that life responds to the image you hold of yourself. To think like the wealthy, you must first remove the invisible barriers that keep you trapped in scarcity. Scarcity is not a lack of money, it's a lack of belief. It's the voice that says, I can't, I don't deserve, or I'll never have enough. The wealthy person has learned to silence that voice and replace it with a stronger one that says, I can, I will, and I already possess the power to create what I need. Wealth is not inherited through bloodlines, it's inherited through mindset. You can give two people the same tools, the same opportunities, and the same amount of time. One will prosper and the other will struggle, because one believes in abundance and the other believes in limitation. The wealthy understand that the mind is like soil. Whatever seed you plant and nurture will grow. They plant thoughts of expansion, of service, of creativity, and they act on those thoughts without hesitation. The poor plant seeds of fear, doubt, and dependence, and their lives bear the fruit of those choices. Wealth is not built overnight, but thought by thought, decision by decision. It begins with the inner declaration that you are worthy of prosperity, that it is not something distant or reserved for a select few, but something you are capable of creating through your own vision and discipline. Those who think like the wealthy know the value of time, attention, and focus. They do not waste energy on envy or comparison because they understand that another person's success takes nothing away from their own. They see money not as an end, but as a tool, a means to expand, to build, to serve, to create freedom. They think in terms of value, not expense. When they spend, they invest. When they earn, they reinvest. Their relationship with money is based on understanding, not emotion. They don't chase wealth. They build systems. They solve problems, and they create opportunities for others. The difference in thinking is subtle but powerful. While others look at a challenge and see a barrier, the wealthy-minded individual sees an opening. Where others see risk, they see potential. Their thoughts are not ruled by fear of loss, but by the excitement of creation. They have learned to detach their self-worth from material things, which paradoxically allows them to attract more of it. Money flows naturally to those who respect its energy, but are not enslaved by it. Thinking like the wealthy means taking responsibility for your thoughts. It means understanding that every belief you hold is shaping your destiny. You cannot think thoughts of poverty and expect a life of prosperity. You cannot dwell on lack and attract abundance. The mind obeys the dominant images you hold, and life simply mirrors those thoughts back to you in material form. When you begin to think like the wealthy, you no longer hope for better circumstances. You create them. You no longer wait for opportunity. You become the source of it. Wealth begins where belief begins, and once you change the way you think about it, you begin to see that it was never something outside of you at all. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process that leads to it. The belief that failure exists as a permanent state is one of the greatest illusions holding people back from their true potential. Those who achieve extraordinary results are not those who never fail, but those who refuse to interpret failure as final. To them, every setback is a signal, every obstacle a lesson, every mistake a teacher. They understand that life is a constant process of refinement, and that progress is born from correction. When you act as if failure doesn't exist, you free yourself from the invisible chains of fear that keep most people standing still. You stop hesitating, you stop overthinking, and you start doing. Every person who has accomplished something great has stumbled more times than they can count. The difference lies in how they respond to the stumble. Most people see failure as a verdict. They stop, they doubt themselves, they retreat into safety. But the successful mind sees failure as feedback. It's the universe adjusting the compass, pointing you toward the right direction. When you think this way, fear loses its power. You begin to view effort itself as victory, because every action brings you closer to mastery. The act of trying, of moving forward despite uncertainty, is what separates dreamers from doers. Acting as if failure doesn't exist means living with an unshakable belief in the eventual outcome. It doesn't mean ignoring mistakes or pretending everything is perfect. It means understanding that mistakes are part of the architecture of success. You cannot become skilled without repetition, and you cannot repeat without error. The child who learns to walk falls hundreds of times, yet never once considers those falls as failure. The adult, however, stumbles once in pursuit of a goal and decides it's over. That difference in mindset is what determines who rises and who remains stuck. When you eliminate the concept of failure from your thinking, you begin to act with freedom. You take risks others won't. You speak when others stay silent. You step forward when others hesitate. You start seeing every experience, whether it brings reward or resistance, as part of a single upward journey. This shift in thinking changes your energy. It fills you with calm certainty because you know that no matter what happens, you are still moving in the right direction. Even when things go wrong, they are serving a purpose. Every great invention, every discovery, every masterpiece carries within it the history of countless attempts that didn't work. The creators didn't label those attempts as failures, they called them steps. That's the power of refusing to believe in failure. It keeps you in motion. Motion is life. The moment you stop moving because of fear, you stagnate. Acting as if failure doesn't exist keeps your focus on creation, not avoidance. It turns obstacles into opportunities to learn something you didn't know before. You become unstoppable when you act with this mindset. The world begins to respond differently because persistence sends a signal stronger than doubt. People trust and follow those who are undeterred by setbacks. Opportunities gravitate toward those who keep showing up. Acting as if failure doesn't exist trains your mind to focus only on solutions, on what can be done next. You no longer waste energy justifying what went wrong. You simply take the next step with conviction. The truth is, failure only becomes real when you accept it as final. Until then, it is nothing more than a temporary result. The successful individual doesn't measure their progress by perfection, but by persistence. Each attempt refines the skill, sharpens the focus, and strengthens the will. Acting as if failure doesn't exist doesn't make you reckless, it makes you resilient. It teaches you to see every challenge as part of the process of becoming who you were meant to be, and every so-called failure as proof that you are still in the game. When you act with certainty, you communicate to the world that success is not a possibility. It is a fact waiting to unfold. Certainty is the invisible force that draws people, opportunities, and results toward you. Most people hesitate because they are waiting for proof before they act, but those who achieve greatness understand that proof only appears after belief. They move forward with quiet confidence, grounded not in arrogance but in conviction. They don't need to see the entire path to take the first step. They trust that each step will reveal the next. Acting with certainty doesn't mean you know everything. It means you've decided that no matter what happens, you will keep moving until you reach what you've envisioned. This inner certainty creates momentum. It silences doubt before it has the chance to grow. When you walk, speak, and decide as though success were inevitable, you change your own chemistry. Your body aligns with your mind, your actions align with your vision, and the world begins to align with you. People are naturally drawn to confidence. It gives them a sense of security. Opportunities respond to it like metal to a magnet. The universe, in a way, bends itself toward those who act as if they cannot fail. This isn't magic, it's mindset. When your belief is firm, your focus sharpens, your energy heightens, and you begin to notice openings that others overlook. Acting with certainty is a habit of thought developed through repetition. It comes from the decision to believe in yourself before you have external validation. The reason most people never reach their full potential is that they wait for the world to approve them before they take bold action. They ask for permission to succeed. But those who act with certainty give themselves that permission. They understand that the world reflects confidence back to the confident and doubt back to the uncertain. When you step into a room believing you belong there, others feel it. When you speak about your goal as if it is already in motion, others begin to believe it too. Certainty has a contagious quality that moves people and events into alignment with your vision. The key is not to confuse certainty with perfection. You don't need to know every detail before beginning. You simply need to know that you will figure it out as you go. This is how leaders think. They act decisively and adjust as they move forward. They are guided by vision, not by fear of mistakes. They understand that hesitation is far more costly than imperfection. While others wait for clarity, they create it. While others seek guarantees, they generate them through persistence. Acting with certainty transforms effort into expectation. It turns work into purpose and purpose into power. There is a natural law that supports this mindset, the law of cause and effect. When you act with conviction, you create a cause so strong that the effect must follow. Every thought, every emotion, every action sets forces in motion that eventually return to you in kind. When your actions are filled with uncertainty, You send weak signals to the world, the results are equally weak. But when you move forward with a clear image of success, your thoughts carry energy that influences outcomes. The world responds to what you project, not what you wish for. Certainty allows you to endure. It keeps you grounded when circumstances don't immediately match your expectations. It reminds you that what you are building is not temporary. Each effort, each decision, each challenge is part of a larger pattern working in your favor. Acting with certainty is about embodying the end result before it arrives. You become the person who already possesses the thing you seek. You think, speak, and behave from that reality until the outer world catches up. The stronger your inner conviction, the faster that alignment happens. Acting with certainty transforms waiting into creating and turns dreams into directions. Persistence is the bridge between vision and reality. It is the invisible thread that connects what you imagine in your mind to what you eventually hold in your hands. Most people begin with enthusiasm, but only a few stay the course long enough to see their ideas come alive. The difference lies not in talent or opportunity, but in persistence. The steady, unwavering determination to keep going even when progress seems invisible. Success rarely arrives in a sudden moment. It unfolds slowly through repetition, discipline, and the quiet refusal to quit. Each day that you continue moving toward your goal, even in small ways, you strengthen the connection between your inner vision and your outer world. Persistence is not loud, it is steady. It doesn't rely on motivation, it relies on decision. Those who achieve greatness understand that persistence is an act of faith. They trust that every effort, no matter how small, compounds over time. Like drops of water carving stone, consistent effort shapes the impossible into the inevitable. Most people give up just before momentum begins to build because they mistake slow progress for no progress. But persistence sees beyond the present moment. It understands that time always rewards those who continue to act with purpose. When you hold a clear mental blueprint of your desired outcome and pair it with relentless persistence, you become unstoppable. The mind begins to align every thought and behavior with your vision. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming lose their power because persistence transforms them into stepping stones. Each setback becomes a signal to adjust, not a reason to retreat. You stop reacting to temporary results and start focusing on the long-term picture. This steadiness creates a kind of inner peace because you are no longer controlled by circumstances. You are guided by conviction. Persistence also refines you. It tests your patience, strengthens your character, and sharpens your skills. Every obstacle you face is an invitation to grow into the person capable of handling the success you desire. Without persistence, even the best ideas remain unrealized dreams. With it, even ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. History is filled with examples of those who simply refused to stop when everything around them suggested they should. Their persistence created breakthroughs, discoveries, and movements that shaped the world. They acted as if success was inevitable and time was merely a tool to get there. To persist is to embrace the long game. It means showing up on the days you don't feel inspired, working when results are invisible, and trusting the process when outcomes are uncertain. Each act of persistence sends a message to your subconscious mind that you are serious about your vision. That conviction builds a kind of magnetic energy that attracts opportunities, ideas, and people who align with your path. The more you persist, the stronger this attraction becomes. It's as if the universe begins to rearrange itself in your favor simply because you refuse to give up. Persistence is also an antidote to doubt. When you take consistent action, you don't give fear the space to grow. You replace uncertainty with evidence. Each step forward, each completed task becomes proof that progress is happening. Over time, this builds confidence, and confidence fuels even greater persistence. It becomes a cycle of creation and reinforcement. You begin to realize that success is not achieved through bursts of effort, but through sustained movement in one direction, no matter how slow. The ones who persist long enough eventually cross a threshold where the world takes notice. What once seemed impossible begins to appear inevitable. Persistence turns dreams into habits and habits into results. It transforms vision into structure, effort into achievement. Every day you persist, you are building unseen foundations for your future. Even when nothing appears to be changing, something always is. Your mind is the blueprint of your life. Everything you experience in the outer world first exists in the inner world of thought. The images you hold, the beliefs you repeat, and the emotions you nurture are the designs that shape your reality. Most people live unconsciously, unaware that they are constantly impressing ideas upon their minds that later materialize as circumstances. They focus on what they fear, what they lack, and what they don't want in life. Being obedient reflects those exact patterns back to them. But those who understand the power of thought use it deliberately. They know that every result begins as an idea and that by mastering their mental blueprint, they can master their destiny. Your mind is like fertile soil. It does not question the seeds you plant. It simply grows whatever you sow. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, your life will yield frustration and scarcity. If you plant seeds of confidence, abundance, and gratitude, your life will reflect success and opportunity. The soil makes no distinction. The gardener decides the crop. This is why discipline of thought is the foundation of all achievement. Every day, you are drawing new lines on the blueprint through your self-talk, your expectations, and your imagination. The clearer, stronger, and more positive those lines are, the faster they become reality. You can always trace your results back to your dominant thoughts. Wealth, health, happiness, and success do not appear by accident. They are built from mental patterns that support them. The person who constantly speaks of lack will find more lack. The person who constantly visualizes growth will find new doors opening. Your mind responds to repetition. Whatever you think about most, you become most. The subconscious mind doesn't reason or judge. It accepts what you feed it and works tirelessly to make it real. This is why guarding your thoughts is not a trivial practice, but a vital one. The quality of your life is a direct reflection of the quality of your thinking. The mind operates according to law. What you impress upon it with feeling becomes expressed in form. If you hold an image of success long enough and with enough emotion, your actions, your decisions, and your habits begin to align with that image automatically. You don't have to force it. It happens naturally because the subconscious mind seeks harmony between your beliefs and your reality. That is why people who see themselves as successful tend to attract success again and again. It's not luck, it's alignment. Their mental blueprint continually reinforces behaviors that match their vision. Changing your outer life without first changing your inner blueprint is like trying to rebuild a house without updating the design. The old patterns will keep recreating the same results. Transformation begins in thought. When you deliberately construct new mental images, seeing yourself as capable, confident, and deserving, you begin to send new instructions to your subconscious mind. Over time, it starts guiding you toward people, situations, and choices that match those new images. This process may feel invisible at first, but it is always working. The universe mirrors your dominant vibration, and your vibration is determined by what you habitually think and feel. Your mental blueprint also determines how you interpret reality. Two people can face the same challenge. One sees defeat, the other sees a chance to grow. The difference lies in their inner design. A positive mental blueprint filters experiences through faith instead of fear. It helps you find meaning in adversity and strength in difficulty. It keeps your focus on solutions, not problems. Over time, this mindset becomes a magnet for success because it aligns you with the creative forces of life. To master your mental blueprint, you must take control of what enters your mind. Read words that inspire you, speak ideas that strengthen you, and visualize outcomes that uplift you. Every thought leaves an imprint. Every belief shapes the structure of what comes next. When you consistently hold images of abundance, clarity, and purpose, your life begins to take the shape of that vision. The mind does not fail to create, it only creates according to what it is given. The power to design your future lies entirely in your thoughts, and the structure you build within will always be reflected in the world around you.